What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Real Heroes Show. You got Cory, Nick, and Shane is back after being absent last week for our Foundation video.
Hey.
And in this episode, we're talking about episode 8 of Foundation. That's right, folks. We've only got, including this one, 3 left until the end of season 1. Big time spoilers ahead. So if you haven't seen the episode, go check it out and then come back and see us. Shane, you're tired. You were on vacation this weekend.
Yeah, I came down to your neck of the woods.
Yeah.
And got rained on for 3 days.
You sure did. But at least it wasn't hot.
Sunshine State.
Yes, that's true. It was like 50 degrees, which is weird for Florida, even in November.
Loved it.
Thing. Nick, I haven't spoken to you in ages, aka about 45 minutes. How are you, sir?
I do well. Ready to talk about some Foundation.
Yeah, man, this was a good episode, I think. So I'm excited to dive into it. Before we do start, though, just a reminder: click that like button if you like our content, and if you think you're going to like this one. If you have a premonition like Gaal or Salvor that you're going to like this video, click the like button. If you haven't subscribed yet, also go ahead and click the subscribe button. We're working towards 1,000 subscribers. We need your help to get there. We don't have any more relatives to ask to subscribe to our channel, so we need help. We're going to break this video down in 3 main sections. We're going to talk about the Empire plot. We're going to talk about what happened on the Invictus, and then we're going to save the stuff with Gaal and Harry for the end. So, Shane, I'll start with you on the Empire plot. What were your thoughts on mostly naked Lee Pace for about 30 minutes in this episode?
We have gotten so much shirtless Lee Pace. Now we got, almost naked Lee Pace, and
using
that
thigh
just,
highs, man.
It is 10 out of 10 when we get that much Lee Pace in any episode, right?
Yeah.
But no, Lee Pace is like holding this show up on his shoulders right now. He's the best part of the show. That plot is the most interesting part of the show, and he's just like acting his ass off, quite literally, right?
Sweating his ass off.
And every single episode, it's just a delight to see him in this role.
Yeah, I agree. He walks the spiral in this episode, which is something that none of the Cleons before him have done, which is apparently quite the treacherous feat, because he has to take off his protective bracelet. They have to remove the nanobots. He's vulnerable to getting hurt for probably the first time in his entire life. I think they mentioned before he gets started. And the idea is that once you walk the spiral, if you can make it, you find a cave that's full of electrolytes, apparently, that shock your system to help you get back. And if you're lucky enough, you have a vision that the folks back at the compound can analyze for their pleasure. And he goes through all that, and then he doesn't really see anything. Nick, how'd you feel about the fact that he makes it all up?
Yeah. When he's standing before them talking about it, I was wondering if it was actually happening. Is he telling the truth? Because last week, he made it a point to prove people wrong, right? He wanted to prove the Zephyr's wrong, mainly Zephyr Halima wrong. He wants to prove Harry wrong as well, right? And yeah, this was a test of courage. It was a test of endurance and will. But for the sake of him essentially lying about it, it kind of also tells us another point of who he is, or what his thought process is. And it was all great. It all taking place, the acting, the dialogue, the parts between him and Demerzel were just
very good,
amazing. And of course, when he stands before like the maiden trio, and the elder one is saying, if anyone, doesn't like this, essentially, it's like blasphemy. And Halima doesn't really take too kind to hear it, and to know this is not a good thing for her. But like what he says is, he thanks Halima for her eulogy, giving him the courage. And that was just sort of like a spat to the face.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And I was like,
her so bad.
Yeah. Yeah. Imperial trolling. And it's like he's basically received what's it called, immunity, right?
Yeah.
And and again, like, it didn't look pleasant. It
No.
looked like, for the first time of him to having to endure anything physical, to be tested like that. I mean, he was in optimal health or performance, as the doctor stated. To not have his nanobots, to not have his protective shield, it's just like, well, he's cloned, and the clone is in this sort of perfect shape, right? Because obviously he's also pretty cut, so
he's in good health.
Out.
Yeah, he works out. Yeah, he does chest day. It looks like he does. He doesn't skip legs. So
no, for real. That one scene where he's like slowly bending down.
Yeah,
you can tell that he does leg day.
Yeah,
you try to do that, and you don't. You'll fall over.
Brother Day does not skip the workout, which is true to life. I actually hit chest
works
today.
out, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know if you knew this or not. I don't know if it gets told any of you.
My legs are actually still sore from Friday's workout. But no, it was great to hear the talk between at the table when Demerzel just, it's like he asks, do you have something to say? And she does. Boy, does she ever, because she is super emotional. We see her cry for the first time, I think, which I'm like, I did not know she could do that. And even Halima was like fascinated by it. I'm like, is she gonna taste it? Like, it's not salty.
They got a little close.
Yeah, they did. I was like, are they gonna make out now or what?
Yeah.
I mean,
they were. Yeah.
I totally thought the same thing.
But when she says, she's like, interesting, because the day you came into my room, I had a 3-leaf birth root on my desk. You didn't happen to see that, did you? Not that I recall. Not that I recall. That? Come on, I looked away. Remember? I was like, oh my God, your face. Ew, disgusting. I gotta turn around. And then she, like, even when she was like, because I had a vision. He's like, really? A robot had a vision? Like, very, very, very arrogantly. But it's what she says when, like, she wouldn't wish the emptiness on anyone, and like the look on his face, I was like, yo, man's freaking right now. Like,
yeah,
because he really, and then we see at the very end, or towards the end of the episode, where he's just, it's like that Pulp Fiction gif,
the John Travolta
just looking around. That's Empire in the salt water in the cave.
That's good.
Where's my vision? Yeah, where's my vision?
Man. You bring up some excellent points, especially because, like, this whole show, I think, has to a degree done a pretty good job of attaching us to Empire and kind of almost to the point where we sympathize because of the strange situation that the three of them are placed in, and it's almost like you want to see them do well. And then this episode reminds you, like, how much of a conniving son of a bitch he can be. And it literally leads to somebody dying, right?
Yeah.
And he's the one who executes that whole thing. He lies to gain immunity, basically become a made man, which is very interesting. And it makes me curious as to what's going to happen over on Trantor, because it seems like they're building up enemies at a pretty fast rate of speed. So, see where it goes.
So one thing that I wanted to kind of point out is that this show has done a really good job of developing that Brother Day. Because if you think about his motivation, it was when he was a child, he said he was scared, and that is what caused, the destruction of the Anacreon homeworld. And so he is driven by not looking scared ever again, right? And so he, goes to this planet whose name escapes me, and then does the spiral. And all of these times he's doing it because he doesn't want to look scared again, right? But then he doesn't see the vision, and he's scared shitless.
Mm-hmm.
But because he doesn't want to appear afraid, he exerts dominance by, you go kill this person. And I saw this vision, and he lies and stuff like that. And he's faking it till he makes it, basically. Yeah. He's a scared little boy on the inside, and he's lashing out so that people don't know it. And I thought that was really interesting. Like all of the stuff that we've seen of him up until now helps us kind of not necessarily empathize, but understand him. And I think that's great for a character who's supposed to be like the antagonist, the villain type of character.
It also creates an interesting bridge between him and the current brother Dawn, because this brother Dawn is actually with Azura. Is that her name?
Azura,
I think he's kind of letting her in, and he's sharing some of his vulnerabilities with her at a very young age, which seems like something that the current brother Day has no interest in doing. So it's a fascinating little thing, and it's obviously the most interesting thing that's going on in the show at this point.
Honestly, like they could make a whole show just based off of this Empire plot. And it would be great.
Which is so wild because none of this happens in the books.
I know. Yeah, and that's what makes it so weird that like we've talked about the Terminus plots and we don't love them, or we don't love that plot. And like it's weird because that one is kind of in the books, and like the stuff that's the best in this show is the stuff that like they just completely made up.
Deviate, yeah.
There's
apparently no cloning whatsoever.
Yeah.
In the novels, like at all. So it's fascinating. But I for one am very curious to see, because it appears like they're going back home now.
Right.
If all of this stuff, all three main plot points are going to collide by the end of this season, because now we've only got 2 episodes left to do that, or to set up a real big cliffhanger to kind of sit us with for the wait between season 1 and season 2. But do you guys have anything else you want to talk about with the Empire stuff before we head over to the Death Star? I mean, Invictus.
The only thing I was going to say was I really enjoyed the mythology behind the birthright flower.
That was cool.
Like I thought it was, the explanation behind it was actually pretty fascinating. But also when she says, one of the maidens who's telling the lore about it, she says, 3 out of 1, right? Three petaled flowers germinate from one of the seedlings, and she says, and he goes, like us, the 3 brothers, and then like I was like the 3 maidens. And like at that point, even then, like because Demerzel had a look. I'm like, what's that look mean? And of course we find out, but this is something that I think is done well with the Empire stuff, especially with Demerzel and Brother Day. But yeah, it's kind of interesting also that she walked the spiral 11,000 years ago.
Yeah, dude. It's wild. Like that kind of stuff makes the story feel so big. And
I love like fascinating points like that. Like it's like 11,000. What? Yeah. Even Halima was like, "Oh my god, the things we must have seen."
Without spoiling anything, it's kind of like Eternals too, the Marvel thing, because that takes place over a 7,000 year span too, and it just by its nature it feels massive, just because there's so much history that has happened during all that time, which is pretty cool. So let's jump over. It's a hell of a segue to the Invictus plot. Shane, you have been someone in the past that was not a huge fan of the Terminus/Invictus stuff, but you texted me and said that you enjoyed this. So I'm curious to hear what your thoughts are on this plot thread during this episode.
They finally gave it stakes that we actually care about.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's really been the whole thing with Terminus. Like we just don't care about any of that until now. It's like, okay, she's gonna, make this sacrifice to like surgically insert herself into the ship.
Matrix.
Something like that.
Yeah. The Matrix.
Just get Keanu Reeves up here and we'll pilot the ship real fast. But I thought the imagery was cool with like that thing coming out of his neck and stuff, and it was cool. Like, and like the guy who plays Lewis like put on a great performance there, and like he was like apologizing to her, saying like I'm sorry that I didn't really take you seriously until now, and then he gets shot in the back. But no, I thought this was actually really interesting because it's starting to actually set up character conflict. Of course, the They just need to not fight in this show ever,
bro.
Just like solve everything with words, because once they start fighting, the show just gets not good. Just like,
it's like,
yeah,
it's a little cringe. Like her blaster conveniently runs out of ammo or energy.
yeah.
What do you want to call it? I'm like, oh, look at that. And then she finds a knife on the ground, like slices her leg. She's like, I've fallen and I can't get up. What am I gonna do?
Farah is supposed to be, correct me if I'm wrong, the Grand Huntress of Anacreon,
yes.
right?
Yep.
The rest of their fighters must be fucking terrible. She's the best they've got. Not feeling good about the Anacreon's chances of survival in any large scale war.
So but, I'm also thinking like maybe we enjoyed that plot because she wasn't in the episode that much.
Yeah.
Like her character is not, it's like a caricature, right? And it's just really off-putting. And like when we got a moment to just, slow down and have Lewis and Salvor, it was like, that was good. I enjoyed that.
And they gave her a little context in the little thing at the beginning of the episode, the flashback, which it kind of makes you feel for her because she saw her, I'm assuming brother,
I think,
get vaporized.
Yeah. I was like, oh wow, they're gonna just watch her do that. Okay, cool.
Or show child death on this TV show.
And that was the Empire that did that bombing, right?
Yeah.
So interesting there. Creates a little bit of a conflict, but Farah is also not a character that's in the books. Can you tell that I read one article this week about stuff that's not in the books? It's actually kind of interesting. But
now I'm even more intrigued to read the books before next season, maybe if I can.
There's a lot of them.
I want to. Yeah, I know, and I have to read Dune as well. Son of a bitch. Maybe the first two Dune books, but I digress. I think the one thing about the Invictus plot now, Salvor said that she wanted to try and get hooked up. She obviously didn't. It goes bye-bye. But there's this weird, obviously visual effect, which looked like an aura that was circling Salvor. And I'm like, whatever neurons are in her head, whatever I forget the exact
when they were
word.
jumping?
When they were about to jump.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even catch that.
And I was like, because she said something, she was saying something to Lewis about as long as the ship can detect something in the brain, then will that be enough to go to wherever we need to? So I was almost, that's what it kind of meant to me, like where this aura was circling around her and like she kind of like did it with it's like and
so they're jumping to Terminus.
So I think the ship is probably going to jump to Terminus. I haven't read the brief synopsis for next week's episode yet, but like I liked when there was that separation between Farah and Salvor, right? Because we actually got some moments of Lewis and her, and I liked the sort of explanation where like oh my god, there was a mutiny. The captain killed herself. There's this like word exo that's written in blood apparently on like the teleportation device or whatever sort of map, star chart, globe thing, navigational computer, whatever you want to call it. And she's like, oh my god, was it someone in like on the inside? And he was like, no, it could mean something outside the galaxy. I'm like, okay, so what does that mean? Is that a foretelling about the Anacreons, or is there something else we haven't seen yet?
Hey, don't forget, Hugo's not dead.
So
our favorite
like the third time.
I know someone had commented about that, which I guess because the damn Terminus stuff is so damn boring, we probably just overlooked it. Thank you I forget who it was, but thank you for pointing that out. And I tried to pay attention more this time about this because again, the Invictus Terminus stuff was actually more interesting this time. For the first time in 8 episodes, I think. And I don't know. I'm kind of wondering what's going to happen with the Invictus potentially, if it indeed does go to Terminus, right? Because the hails that came from Hugo, were received because the thespian ships are there, and we're shooting the Invictus, which I'm like, what good is that going to do? I think
who knows?
To the ship of that, or I don't know, ship space station of that caliber, right? Like,
that's the moon.
Yeah, and then also, was it just me, or like thinking about how enormous this thing is, right? And then as it's kind of like winding up, the inner loops are spinning super freaking fast, and I'm like, I know space works differently, but for something that large to be spinning that fast, I'm like, that is pretty far out. Like, it looked cool. I'm not trying to like to
I was gonna say, but Nick, it looked cool.
Yeah, no, I'm like, and then when it disappeared, I was
Mass
like,
Effect. It looks exactly like Mass Effect.
Yeah, I was like, I even put in my notes. I'm like, the Invictus jump was cool. Like that was really well done.
Yeah, I love how Hugo brought all these ships and then it jumps away instantly.
Yeah, the minute they get there. I'm like, I was like, so they're gonna call them and they're gonna get there. I'm like, hey, we don't know where it went. Or I have
cut to like Darth Vader where he's like looking around,
and then he just kills someone,
just walks away.
Makes the person next to them an admiral.
I half expect you to show back up with the other thespians on Terminus, but
on Terminus, I think there's probably a chance of that happening because and
we'll get in their battle.
They seem very intent on having Hugo stay alive and be on the show. So, all right. Well, I think that's about. Actually, one other thing, the guy that got his guts sucked out of him and out into space. That was a cool little homage. I thought that was actually really fun. But other than that, an improvement, which is good across the board. So we're 2 for 2 on plot threads in this episode. Let's make it 2 for 3 and go to Gaal and Harry. Nick, I know that this was something you weren't extremely into, so I'll let you take it away.
Yeah, I think Harry should have kept her in the dark. I'm just going to say that right now after thinking about it, because Raish still would have been alive. The plan still would have been on schedule. And who's to say that, again, probability wise, that Raish and Gaal wouldn't fight each other at some point in time down the road, maybe when it all works out. But other than that, I wasn't really too fond of her tantrum that she threw. Breaking the computer, like an angry girlfriend or something like that.
Seemed a lot of character for her, right?
Yeah,
she is
right.
It's like, and he even says, Gaal, you're not thinking. And then she grabs a fucking hammer.
We're smarter than this.
I'm like, I don't know.
Race shields. Race shields?
Race shields. Oh my God.
Oh, prequel memes coming at you, baby.
Anyway. I just, it didn't sit well with me. Like, obviously getting more Jared Harris was great. But in some of the things where he is trying to get out of her, like how smart she is, the Bractus equation moments, when he's like, I mean, the good part is we get the confirmation about the second foundation on Helicon, which very important, right? And well deceived, but well planned as well by the genius that Harry is. But with also Raish, having a helping hand in that. And I don't know, it seemed out of character. And again, she wants to go, and as we see her go to freaking Synax again, the 138-year journey, like, I'm sorry, what are you expecting to find? Was sort of my thought.
Yeah, like your parents are not there.
Like you even said you had a premonition that a giant wave swallowed everything.
Yeah.
If that's not foretelling, I don't know what is. And at that point, if that does come true, we were kind of chatting off screen. What happens in like midway through her 138-year journey, she wakes up in space and is like, holy shit, it's already happened. I need to turn around.
I mean, it could happen. They've got that, like, they've established her subconscious processes memory or math faster than her brain does. Yeah. So it's possible that, like, and maybe that's why they showed us in that first episode that she woke up during.
Yep.
Yeah.
Foretelling.
Very, very possible.
Goes back to Helicon.
So the plan originally was for Raish to lead the second foundation on Helicon,
Yeah,
right?
and I guess Gaal was supposed to lead the first one.
The first one, which was supposed to be the one that gets left in the dark, which is interesting. But through whatever turn of events, now we have no one really leading the first one because it's under attack, and no one to lead the second one because Gaal has put herself to sleep for 138 years. Leaves us a very interesting conundrum. I also read in that same article that the second foundation in the books is actually on Trantor, which is pretty, because Trantor is, as they say, there's an expression that Trantor is at Star's End, which is what Harry mentions Helicon is in this episode.
Right.
It is very interesting. And after reading that article, I could say, like, this is kind of going off on a tangent a little bit, but I can get where the book readers are coming from with some of their disinterest and frustration with the series, because man, they changed a lot.
It seems like it now
from the books, probably in the interest of making it more palatable as a television show, because a lot of the stuff in the books is very book heavy and not something that might translate to the screen. But there's just so much.
Dune has entered the chat.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, I don't know, man. Dune
book lovers love Dune, apparently.
Yeah.
And if Denny followed the book closely, because
he did.
That's
There are some things that are sacrificed just because if you made the book shot for shot, it would be like a 7-hour movie.
I'm okay with that, but yeah.
A lot of the plot threads are very, very tightly held to the source material. So
I think the reason is, like, this show or this book spans a lot of time, I think in the books, I would assume that a lot of the characters do not span across all of those time periods.
That is correct. Yep.
And so in order to make a cohesive narrative where you've got characters that kind of bridge the gaps, that's kind of, I think, where they had to make the most changes.
Yep. Yeah. That article I read said that, like, from story to story, there are characters that are just long dead by the time the next one starts. So you're basically starting with a clean slate of characters in many instances. And like one of the constants is that Harry is just kind of held up as like a godlike figure for being able to figure out what he figured out. But yeah, to your point, Shane, it's just to make it easier to digest as a TV show. But so we're only 2 episodes left in the season after this one. I think they have a pretty good deal of stuff that they need to tie up before calling it a day.
Yep.
So how would you guys rank this episode out of 10? Nick, I'll start with you.
I'd go 8.5.
Okay, that high. Shane, what do you think?
I was gonna go 8. It was one of the better ones of the season for sure.
Yeah. All around. Yeah.
I'll say 8 as well, just so we're all in that same bracket. I'm very excited to see if they kind of neatly wrap a bow on it in the final 2, or if they leave it open, because we do know that a second season is definitely happening. It's been greenlit by Apple already. So
do we want to know what the synopsis says for next week? I do have it up.
Yes, tease us.
Very short. It's 2 sentences. On Terminus, Salvor witnesses how powerful the null field has become.
I guess they jumped to Terminus.
Yep, and we see her mother say that the vault to the lieutenant, like, it's becoming more powerful. We need to leave. I'm not joking around. Not trolling. And then Brother Don makes a daring choice.
Ooh,
and the screenshot for the episode, it's Dusk talking to Don with his hands like on his shoulders.
What's the title of the episode?
The First Crisis.
Okay, so this is a 10 episode season. That sounds to me like it's Game of Thronesy, where like the big bomb drop is in the 9th episode.
Yeah,
and then the 10th is like the pick up the pieces kind of thing. So
yep,
that'll be fun. Exciting stuff. I can't believe there's only 2 weeks left. I feel like I've been looking forward to this show for so long, and now it's practically over already. But speaking of over, this video is over. Like the video if you liked it. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed already to help us get to our goal of 1,000. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop us a comment below and let us know what you think. We will answer any comment that comes through, including the ones from last week that I haven't gotten to yet. Going to get to those after we're done recording this. Make sure to check us out on social media. We are on Twitter and Instagram at Real Heroes Show. We've got videos this week for Foundation, for the first 5 episodes of Invasion. We have an Eternals live stream up on the channel, depending on when this releases, later tonight or as we speak. I don't know when these videos are coming out yet. We're not terribly professional. Who the hell cares? Nick is also going to be reviewing season 3 of Narcos Mexico, which that's the final season of that show, Nick?
They haven't said anything about a 4th, but there's definitely something in there at the end that could possibly lead to something else. It's very open-ended, but
cool. And then we've got some other stuff coming. The Shrink Next Door starts on Apple TV on Friday of this week with Will Ferrell and Paul Rudd, which we're all looking forward to very much. There's some other movies.
There's also something else that I might be the one to review it. Dexter.
Oh no.
I'll play that card. I might shit on it every week. You never know.
Is that weekly drops or is
every
that
Sunday night? Every Sunday night.
Oh,
okay, if the first episode is worth a shit, tell me and then I'll actually watch it.
Yeah,
look at that, and then I'll sit back and not be on those videos because I don't give a shit about Dexter. Oh man, good stuff. Well, thank you everybody for sticking with us. If you've made it all the way through, as you can tell, we've got a lot of stuff coming up that we're really excited for. So stay tuned for all of it. And until next time, we'll see you guys in the next video.
Peace.